3. The Shashamene Massacres. The Shashamene Massacres revealed the ethno-religious character of this persecution. On June 29, 2020, a renowned Oromo singer and political activist was assassinated in Ethiopia, leading to massive protests that escalated into a premeditated massacre. In the subsequent weeks, a group identifying as Kweru, literally translating to youth in Oromo language, targeted Amhara and Orthodox believers in the Oromia region. Towns including Shashamene, Arsi, Dera and Ziwe witnessed significant destruction, with properties of non-Oromo ethnicities being vandalized and burned. The violence resulted in an estimated 239 casualties. A harrowing account from a survivor details the brutal killing of his 9-month pregnant wife in front of their children. "They killed her because she is an Orthodox Christian," he recalls. "They said that Christian children should not be born, Amhara children should not be born." According to the head of the Western Arsi diocese, the mob targeted Orthodox Christians of all ethnicities in his area, giving the massacres a purely religious dimension. The NGO minority rights group reported that the attacks were well prepared, and that the rioters had a list of names and went from house to house checking ID cards and conducting massacres accordingly to the list. According to reports from the same NGO, police forces in these areas have been of no help, as they claimed they were not authorized to intervene. In cases where victims have attempted to defend themselves, the Oromia region's special forces have attacked them. This information points to clear complicity on the part of the government. 4. Amhara massacres in Wolega. Several devastating incidents in Wolega have highlighted a pattern of severe human rights abuses against the Amhara community in the Oromia region of Ethiopia. One such incident occurred on November 1, 2020, in Gawakanka, a village in the Guliso district of West Wolega zone. As reported by Amnesty International, this atrocity saw the brutal massacre of at least 54 individuals from the Amhara ethnic group. This violent assault, allegedly carried out by the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, occurred just a day after the Ethiopian Defense Force's sudden and enigmatic departure from the region. In a desperate bid for safety, local residents pleaded the leaving troops to stay, with some going to the extent of forcibly entering the departing military vehicles, afraid of the impending danger. The circumstances and timing of the military's withdrawal have sparked significant criticism and suspicion, suggesting the involvement of state actors in the orchestration of these massacres. The attack was marked by its systematic and targeted nature, with assailants focusing on Amhara civilians, specifically women and children. Victims were forcibly extracted from their homes and herded into a local school. In a harrowing display of intimidation, the attackers showed the gathered victims graphic images of dismembered and decapitated individuals on their phones and laptops, ominously declaring, "Today is your turn and you will be finished," our translation. The victims were then made to lie down, after which the assailants indiscriminately fired upon them with automatic rifles. Similarly, on June 18, 2022, the Amhara community in Wolega within the Oromia region of Ethiopia was brutally slaughtered in what is now known as the Gimbi Massacre. The perpetrator was reportedly the Oromo Liberation Army OLA terrorist group. However, the armed force has denied responsibility and claims that government forces are responsible for this killing. The victim count is between 400 and 554 people. According to an investigative report by the Amhara Association of America, AGA, 13 people were killed by being burned alive, and in at least 2 cases, pregnant women had their wombs cut open with a knife. A witness that spoke to Human Rights Watch reports hearing the gunmen say, "We are heroes, and no one can escape from us. We will kill you all." The massacre lasted around 8 hours, and government forces did not interfere despite the pleas of the people. They claimed they were unable to respond because the roads were closed. They only appeared hours after the attackers left the area. On July 4, 2022, just mere weeks after the Gimbi massacre, the OLA terrorist group committed another massacre in the same region within the Kelem-Wolega zone. The victim count is between 150 and 308 people. The modus operandi remained the same, as they targeted and killed members of the Amhara ethnic group. The British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, reported that the vast majority of the deceased were children and women. An eyewitness from a nearby town, upon witnessing the aftermath, described the scene as beyond human comprehension, noting particularly that 2 months and 3 months old infants, were cruelly massacred. The attack was characterized by the use of a variety of weapons, including bombs, guns, and bladed weapons, suggesting a level of preparation and premeditation. State actors are once again accused of complicity in this massacre, as security forces showed up only hours after the incident. This distressing series of massacres, ranging from the Burayu massacre in 2018, the Shashamene massacre in 2020, to multiple incidents in 2020 and 2021, including the Maikadra, Metakel, Ataye, Chena, Kombolcha, and Kobo massacres, bears testament to this ongoing crisis. 5. The Metakel massacres. From 2020 to 2021, the Metakel zone in Ethiopia's Benishangul Gumuz region became the epicenter of massacres targeting the Amhara community along with other minorities. A notably severe attack took place on the night of December 22nd, extending into the early hours of December 23, 2020. This assault, suspected to be the work of Gumuz fighters, led to an estimated 222 fatalities and displaced approximately 40,000 individuals. The village was reportedly surrounded by up to 500 gunmen that night, who inflicted several hours of terror upon the community. The executions were methodically carried out through the use of firearms, arrows, and the deliberate burning of houses, as the armed group shot at residents and set fire to their homes as they lay asleep. This brutal massacre followed closely on the heels of another incident that occurred on November 14, 2020, targeting a bus traveling in the zone. During this earlier event, 34 people from the Amhara and Agu communities were killed by Gumuz militiamen. Amnesty International's analysis of the November incident highlighted that the assailants used the term K, literally translating to red, as an apparent epithet to denote the fair skin color of the victims, thereby accentuating the ethnically motivated nature of these attacks. Tragically, these events are far from being isolated. Similar massacres occurred in September 2020, claiming 45 lives, and in October 2020, resulting in at least 14 fatalities. The relentless pattern of violence extended into the following year, with an attack on January 12, 2021, leaving 82 civilians dead and 22 injured. The most recent reports from the region recounts yet another atrocity, with 17 more individuals falling victim to these ongoing massacres on July 7, 2023. This reminds us of the constant persecution faced by the Amhara people in the region. The testimonies provided by survivors paint a bone-chilling and profoundly disturbing picture of the atrocities committed. The narratives relayed by survivors reveal a spectrum of brutality, encompassing decapitations and dismemberments, as well as the heinous act of cannibalistic consumption of the dead. The savagery of these acts did not discriminate, tragically affecting children as well. In a heart-rending account shared with Reuters, a witness recounted the discovery of an infant, a mere 6 months old, who had been brutally slain in her home and her little body thrown in a field. The ongoing violence and massacres in Metakel point to the government's failure to protect the Amhara community and other vulnerable minorities within the region. Despite persistent appeals for decisive action from both human rights organizations and local inhabitants, governmental responses have been notably insufficient. Disturbingly, eyewitness testimonies suggest a situation that transcends mere negligence. There are allegations indicating possible involvement or tacit approval by regional administration officials in these egregious acts. These grave allegations cast doubt on the integrity of regional governance and underscore the urgent necessity for an open investigation and the enforcement of accountability. It is worth noting that the situation in Metakel has exacerbated the already dire humanitarian situation in Ethiopia, with UNOCHA reporting that at least 101,000 individuals have been compelled to flee their homes due to the unrest. Currently, these displaced persons remain within the country's borders. However, should the turmoil continue, it is likely to influence international migration trends, which are already under strain. 6. Forced displacement of the Amhara community. Since January 1, 2023, there have been consistent reports of the government orchestrating discriminatory displacements, targeting primarily non-Oromos, especially Amharas, in the vicinity of the Kapita. Tens of thousands of houses were demolished in this context. While the government justifies these actions by labeling the houses as illegal settlements needed for the Shega City project, their motives come into question. Dr. Teshome Adugna, the mayor of Shega City, when questioned about the selective nature of these demolitions, responded that they aimed to avoid displacing the indigenous people. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission found that the house demolitions included features of ethnic discrimination. This effectively creates a system of segregation in which certain citizens are accorded more rights than others.